Strategic foundations. The war maps spread across the command tent like prophecies of doom. Marcus Stone traced his finger along the topographical lines, following the elevation changes that marked the approach to Mount Ashen. 20 years of seismic data clustered in red dots across the parchment, each one a tremor, each tremor a warning. The pattern was undeniable. The volcano was waking up. 340% increase in activity over the last 6 months. Marcus had run the numbers himself, checked them twice, had Cole verify them a third time. Math didn't lie. Politicians did. Alphas did. But numbers, cold and merciless, told only truth. The canvas walls of the tent rippled in the mountain wind. Outside, warriors prepared for the journey to Dark Angel Pack territory. This wasn't a social visit. This was survival. Cole entered without announcing himself, the privilege of a beta who had earned his position through blood and loyalty rather than birthright. He carried another stack of reports, his expression grim. Marcus didn't look up from the maps. How bad? Bad enough that you'll want to hear this sitting down, Cole replied. Marcus remained standing. He had been standing for 18 hours. Sleep was a luxury he couldn't afford when his pack's future hung in the balance. Cole set the reports on the makeshift table, pushing aside cold coffee and the remains of a strategy session that had lasted until dawn. Iron Claw Pack reported another collapse on their eastern border. 7 dead. Silver Ridge is fortifying their boundaries, turning away refugees. And Dark Angel just experienced their 3rd major earthquake this week. Marcus closed his eyes. The calculation was simple. 4 packs surrounded Mount Ashen in a rough square, each claiming territory that had been fought over for generations. The border wars had raged for a decade before exhaustion and economic reality forced an uneasy ceasefire. But peace between wolves was always temporary. They were predators by nature, and predators didn't share territory willingly. Now the mountain threatened to kill them all, and old grudges seemed petty in the face of annihilation. "What about Operation Exodus?" Marcus asked. Cole hesitated. That pause told Marcus everything he needed to know. "Your father's evacuation plan assumed cooperation between all 4 packs. Shared routes, combined resources, coordinated timing. We haven't been able to get the other alphas to even acknowledge the possibility of working together." Marcus slammed his palm against the table. The coffee cup jumped, spilling dark liquid across a corner of the map. "Of course they won't, because my father tried to unite them with diplomacy, and it got him killed." The memory was old, but never faded. Marcus had been 3 years old when his parents died at the base of Mount Ashen, attempting to broker a treaty between the 4 packs. The official story was an accident, a sudden eruption that caught them by surprise. But Marcus had learned the truth as he grew older. His father had been cursed, touched by something in that mountain, something that drove him mad in his final days. His mother had tried to save him, and they had died together. Marcus had built his entire leadership philosophy on that tragedy. Diplomacy was weakness. Strength was survival. He had turned Red Star Pack into a fortress, trained his warriors to be the most disciplined fighting force in the region. They didn't need alliances. They needed strong walls and stronger resolve. But walls meant nothing when the ground itself turned against you. Cole moved to the map, studying the evacuation routes. "We could try to force the issue, show up at the summit with overwhelming force, make them listen." "And prove we're the aggressors?" Marcus shook his head. "No. We go to this council as equals. We present the data. We make them see reason. And if reason doesn't work, then we save who we can and let the stubborn ones burn." The words tasted like ash in his mouth. He didn't mean them, not really. Every wolf lost was a tragedy, regardless of pack affiliation. But he had to protect his own first. That was the Alpha's burden. Garrett burst into the tent with his characteristic lack of subtlety. His Gamma wore a grin that seemed perpetually fixed on his face, even in the darkest times. It was one of the things Marcus valued about him. Garrett could find humor in hell itself. "Ready to go play nice with our neighbors?" Garrett asked, then noticed the spilled coffee and grim expressions. "Or are we planning to play rough?" "We're planning to stay alive," Marcus replied, "which means convincing 3 other alphas that cooperation isn't surrender." Garrett's grin faded slightly. He understood the stakes. They all did. "You know what the warriors are saying? They're calling this the Death Summit. They think we're walking into a trap." "It's not the other alphas I'm worried about," Cole said quietly. "It's what's in that mountain." The tent fell silent. None of them wanted to discuss the supernatural element. The the curse that had taken Marcus's parents. Wolves dealt in physical reality, territory, strength, dominance. The mystical was better left to stories told around fires to frighten pups. But Mount Ashen made mysticism real. Something lived in that volcano. Something that had existed long before any of their packs claimed this land. Marcus rolled up the maps with decisive movements. We leave in an hour. Cole, I want a perimeter team running parallel to us. If this is a trap, I want early warning. Garrett, you're with me at the front. And what do I do when I find my mate at Dark Angel Pack? Garrett asked, his tone light but his eyes serious. Do I choose her or choose you? The question hung in the air like smoke. It was the fundamental dilemma that had destroyed Marcus's father. Love or duty? Heart or pack? Marcus met Garrett's gaze without flinching. You choose pack. Always. Even if it kills me inside? Even then? Garrett nodded slowly. He didn't like the answer, but he accepted it. That was the nature of service. Sometimes the right choice was the one that broke you. Marcus stepped out of the tent into the gray morning. His pack land stretched before him, familiar and finite. Red Star Pack occupied the westernmost territory of the four-pack alliance, which meant they were furthest from the volcano. It should have been an advantage. Instead, it was a death sentence. Their evacuation route required passage through Ironclaw territory to the north. Without permission, they would have to fight their way through or take the long route south through Silver Ridgelands. Either option meant delays, meant losses, meant choosing who lived and who died. The weight of leadership pressed down on Marcus's shoulders like a physical thing. 20 years old when he took the Alpha position. 23 now, some days he felt ancient. His wolf stirred inside him, restless and hungry. The beast wanted to run, to hunt, to fight. Anything but this slow political dance where every word was a potential trap and every handshake might hide a knife. Soon, Marcus promised his other half, soon we'll have real enemies to fight. The warriors assembled with military precision. Marcus had drilled them relentlessly, turning farmers and craftsmen into soldiers. It was the only way to survive in a world where weakness meant extinction. They wore their strength like armor, each movement controlled, each expression neutral. Cole took his position at Marcus's right, Garrett at his left. The formation was deliberate, a show of unity and force. Let the other alphas see Red Star Pack as a unified front. They moved out as the sun broke over the eastern mountains. The journey to Dark Angel territory would take 3 hours at wolf speed, but Marcus had ordered human form travel. He wanted his warriors fresh for potential combat, not exhausted from transformation. The landscape changed as they traveled. Red Star lands were characterized by dense forests and steep valleys, defensible terrain that Marcus had used to his advantage in the border wars. But as they crossed into neutral territory, the forests thinned. The ground became rockier, and in the distance, Mount Ashen dominated the horizon like a dark god. Smoke rose from its peak in a thin gray column. The mountain was breathing. Marcus tried not to think about what his father had seen in his final days. The reports said he had become paranoid, violent, seeing enemies everywhere. He had raved about voices in the mountain, about something that wanted to be free. His mother had tried to calm him, to bring him back from whatever edge he teetered on. It hadn't been enough. Cole moved closer, his voice low. You okay? Marcus realized he had been staring at the mountain. Fine. Just thinking. About your father? About not becoming him. They walked in silence for a while. The other warriors maintained their spacing, professional and alert. Marcus had chosen his escort carefully. These were wolves who had proven themselves in combat, who followed orders without question. If this summit turned violent, they would need every advantage. The border markers of Dark Angel territory appeared ahead. Tall stone cairns marked the boundary, ancient and weathered. This land had been fought over so many times that the stones were stained with the memory of blood. A patrol waited at the border, 6 warriors in Dark Angel colors, their postures relaxed but ready. The lead warrior was a massive man with a scar across his jaw, Alpha Stone. The warrior's voice carried respect, but no warmth. Alpha Haze welcomes you to Dark Angel territory. We'll escort you to the council grounds. Marcus nodded acknowledgement. Lead the way. The escort fell in around them, not quite prisoners, but not quite guests. Marcus studied their movements, their equipment, their readiness. Dark Angel warriors moved with confidence, but there was something else, a precision to their formations that spoke of recent drilling. Someone had been training them hard. As they traveled deeper into Dark Angel lands, Marcus noticed more changes. The territories showed signs of organization beyond normal pack management. Evacuation routes were clearly marked. Supply caches were positioned at regular intervals. Civilians they passed seemed calm, not panicked. Someone here understood logistics. Cole noticed it too. Marcus could see his beta's eyes cataloging every detail. This wasn't the chaos they had expected. This was preparation. The council grounds came into view, and Marcus's breath caught. The meeting wasn't being held in Alpha Hayes' main compound. It was in a reinforced structure that looked more like a military command post than a diplomatic venue. Thick walls, defensive positions, clear sightlines to all approaches. Someone here understood war. The escort led them inside. The interior matched the exterior's martial efficiency. Maps covered the walls. Communication equipment sat on tables. This wasn't decorated for show. This was a working operations center. 3 alphas were already present. Dorian Hayes of Dark Angel stood at the head of a large table, his bearing regal, despite the stress that lined his face. Damian Cross of Iron Claw Pack slouched against a wall, his expression calculating. Nathaniel Reed of Silver Ridge sat in a corner, his fingers drumming nervously on his knee. Alpha Stone. Dorian's voice was warm, genuine. Thank you for coming. Marcus scanned the room, noting exits, potential threats, the positioning of guards, old habits. Where's the tactical briefing I was told to expect? Dorian smiled. It's coming. But first, some context. What you're about to see represents 2 years of work. My daughter has been studying the volcanic patterns, preparing contingencies, planning for this exact scenario. Your daughter? Marcus tried to keep the skepticism from his voice. He had heard the rumors. Alpha Hayes had a daughter, but she was cursed, weak, not fit for leadership. The idea that she had been preparing military strategies seemed absurd. Yes. Dorian's smile widened. And before you dismiss her based on gossip, I suggest you see for yourself. A side door opened. The woman who entered carried herself like a soldier. She wore practical clothing, her golden hair pulled back in a severe bun. Her hands held maps and reports, organized with military precision. When she looked up, her golden eyes swept the room with the calculating gaze of a tactician. Marcus's wolf exploded inside him. Mate! The word reverberated through every cell in his body. The scent hit him like a physical blow. Honey and roses and something else, something wild and untamed. His vision narrowed, focused entirely on her. Everything else in the room became background noise. She froze mid-step. Her eyes found his across the space, and he watched awareness dawn in them. Her lips parted. The report slipped from her fingers, scattering across the floor. Mate! His wolf howled again, demanding, desperate. Claim her! Take her! Make her ours! Marcus fought for control. This couldn't be happening. Not here, not now, and definitely not with her. Kira, Dorian said softly, concern in his voice. The woman, Kira, shook herself. She bent to retrieve the fallen papers, her movement suddenly uncertain. When she straightened, she wouldn't meet Marcus's eyes. The room had gone silent. Every wolf present understood what they had just witnessed. Mate bonds were rare enough, but finding your mate in the middle of a diplomatic summit was unprecedented. Damian pushed off from the wall, his expression amused. Well, this just got interesting. Kira took a breath, visibly steadying herself. Then she walked to the table and spread out the maps with shaking hands. Gentlemen, we have approximately 72 hours before Mount Ashen enters critical eruption phase. I suggest we table all personal matters until after we've addressed the immediate threat to all our packs. Her voice was steady, professional, cold. Marcus felt something twist in his chest. His mate was standing 15 feet away, and she was dismissing their bond like it was an inconvenient scheduling conflict. His wolf raged. Marcus silenced it with practiced brutality. Cole touched his arm, a silent question. Marcus shook his head fractionally. Later. They would deal with this later. Kira began her briefing, and within minutes, Marcus understood why Dorian had seemed so confident. She didn't speak like someone's daughter playing at strategy. She spoke like a career military officer. Her analysis was precise, her data comprehensive, her recommendations sound. She outlined evacuation routes, resource requirements, estimated casualty rates under various scenarios. She identified choke points, defensible positions, potential safe zones. She had clearly studied each pack's territory and capabilities, and she did it all without once looking directly at Marcus. Based on current activity levels, she said, pointing to a series of red marks on the map, we're looking at a major eruption within the next 3 days. The initial blast will devastate everything within a 5-mile radius. That includes most of Dark Angel territory and significant portions of Iron Claw lands. What about Red Star? Nathaniel asked from his corner. Kira's finger traced westward on the map. You're outside the immediate blast zone, but the pyroclastic flows will follow these valleys. She indicated several routes with her finger. Your evacuation route north through Ironclaw territory is the only viable option. The southern route through Silver Ridge will be cut off within the first 6 hours of eruption. Nathaniel leaned forward. Are you saying Red Star Pack needs to cross through Ironclaw lands to survive? I'm saying all of us need to cooperate or die separately. Kira's voice was sharp. This isn't about territory disputes or old grudges. This is about survival. The mountain doesn't care which pack you belong to. Easy to say when your pack isn't being asked to open their borders, Damien observed. Kira turned to face him fully. Iron Claw Pack will be hit hardest in the first wave. Your eastern settlements are already experiencing structural failures from the tremors. You have what, 3 days of supplies stockpiled? 4 at most? Where exactly do you plan to go when your lands become uninhabitable? Damien's jaw tightened. We'll manage. No. Kira pulled out another map, this one showing resource distributions. You won't. None of us will. Not alone. But together, we have enough supplies to sustain all 4 packs for 2 weeks. We have enough territory outside the blast zone to shelter everyone. We have the manpower to execute a coordinated evacuation. She looked at each alpha in turn, and when her gaze finally landed on Marcus, he felt the impact like lightning. What we don't have is time to argue, so I'm going to ask you all to make a choice. Are you leaders who can see past your pride? Or are you children who would rather die than share? The room erupted. Nathaniel shouted about sovereignty. Damien questioned the accuracy of her predictions. Dorian tried to mediate. Through it all, Kira stood silent, her expression unreadable. Marcus watched her. Really watched her. This was not the cursed weakling the rumors described. This was a woman who had spent years preparing for this moment, who had studied, planned, anticipated, who understood that leadership meant making hard choices and standing by them. His mate was brilliant and terrifying. And absolutely right. Marcus raised his hand. The room gradually quieted. He kept his eyes on Kira as he spoke. Show me the evacuation plan. Full details. I want to see logistics, supply chains, command structure, contingency protocols, everything. Kira's expression flickered. Surprise, maybe? Or respect. She pulled out another set of documents. Over the next hour, she walked them through a comprehensive emergency plan that would have impressed a military academy instructor. She had thought of everything. Distribution of medical supplies, communication protocols between packs, designation of leadership responsibilities, even psychological support for displaced families. Cole leaned close to Marcus. She's the real deal, Alpha. This isn't amateur work. Marcus knew. His wolf knew. Every instinct he possessed recognized capability when he saw it. Kira Hayes wasn't playing at tactics. She was a natural strategist, which made her dangerous. Women like this didn't follow. They led, and Marcus had spent his entire adult life being the unquestioned leader of his pack. The idea of sharing that authority, even with his mate, felt like stepping off a cliff. As the briefing concluded, Dorian suggested a break. The Alphas dispersed to discuss the proposals with their advisors. Marcus found himself alone in a side corridor, trying to process everything. Kira appeared beside him. She didn't announce herself, just materialized in his peripheral vision. "We should talk," she said quietly. Marcus turned to face her fully. At this distance, her scent was overwhelming. His wolf pushed against his control, demanding contact. He shoved it down ruthlessly. "Yes, we should." "Not here." She glanced around the corridor, somewhere private. She led him to a small office. Maps and reports covered every surface. This was clearly where she had been working, the organized chaos of a strategic mind at work. Kira closed the door and turned to face him, her arms crossed defensively. "I know what you're thinking." "Do you?" "You're thinking that I'm cursed, that I'm a liability, that accepting me as your mate would weaken your position. You're probably already planning how to reject me without causing a diplomatic incident." Marcus said nothing. She wasn't entirely wrong. Kira's laugh was bitter. "It's fine. I've been rejected my entire life. One more won't kill me. But before you make your decision, you should know what you're actually rejecting." She moved to the desk, pulled out a leather-bound journal. 20 years ago, something happened at Mount Ashen. Your parents were there, so were mine. The official story is incomplete. Marcus's hands clenched. What do you know about my parents? Kira opened the journal. Pages of notes, diagrams, calculations. I know your father wasn't cursed, not in the way people think. He wasn't driven mad by evil magic. He was trying to communicate with something, and he almost succeeded. What are you talking about? There's an entity in that mountain. Not a demon, not a monster. A guardian. Something that was placed there centuries ago to contain the volcano's power. Your father discovered it. He tried to establish contact, to negotiate, but he didn't have the right connection. And you do? Marcus tried to keep the skepticism from his voice. Kira met his eyes. I was born with it. The curse everyone talks about? It's not a curse. It's a link. I can feel the mountain's rhythms. I can sense when eruptions are coming. And sometimes, when I'm close enough, I can hear the guardian's voice. Marcus took a step back. This was insanity. Exactly the kind of mystical nonsense that had destroyed his father. You're telling me you hear voices? I'm telling you I have intelligence no one else can access. How do you think I predicted these eruption patterns with such accuracy? How do you think I knew where the dead wolves would be found? Dead wolves? Marcus frowned. What dead wolves? Kira's expression turned grim. You haven't found them yet. But you will. 12 wolves, all Alpha-bloodline, all killed in the same way. White eyes, burn marks. The Guardian is trying to warn us, but it's losing control. It's been fighting something else, something in the mountain that wants the eruption to happen. This is, Marcus began. Crazy? Kira finished. Believe me, I know how it sounds. But ask yourself this. How else would I know about the evacuation route failures? About the supply shortages? About the exact timing of the seismic events? Marcus's mind raced. Everything she had presented in the briefing had been accurate, unnaturally accurate. She had predicted patterns that should have been unpredictable. Unless she really did have inside information. Even if I believe you, Marcus said slowly, even if this curse or connection or whatever you call it is real, why should I accept you as my mate? You just proved you're more valuable as an intelligence asset than as a Luna. Kira's expression hardened. Then let's make a deal, Alpha Stone. Come to Red Star Pack. I'll help you prepare your defenses. I'll use my connection to give you every advantage. And if, after 3 days, you still think I'm not worthy of being your Luna, we part ways. No bond, no obligation. And what do you get out of this? The chance to prove that I'm more than a curse. She stepped closer, and Marcus felt the pull between them intensify. I've spent my entire life being told I'm broken, dangerous, unwanted. For once, I'd like someone to see what I can do instead of what I am. Marcus studied her face. She was serious. And despite everything, despite his reservations and fears, he found himself wanting to say yes, not because of the mate bond, because of who she was. 3 days, he said. You come to Red Star. You help us prepare. And I'll judge you on your capabilities, not your curse. Kira's eyes widened slightly. You mean it? On one condition. You don't hide anything from me. If you hear the Guardian, you tell me. If you sense danger, you tell me. Complete honesty. She extended her hand. Deal. Marcus took it. The moment their skin touched, electricity shot up his arm. His wolf howled in triumph. Kira gasped, her pupils dilating. They stood frozen, hands clasped, the bond between them singing. Kira pulled away first, her breathing unsteady. 3 days, she repeated. Then we'll see if you can handle the truth about me. She left the office without looking back. Marcus stood alone, his hands still tingling from her touch. His wolf was ecstatic. His mind was in turmoil. He had just agreed to bring a cursed woman into his pack. A woman who claimed to hear voices from a mountain. A woman who represented everything his father's fate had taught him to fear. But as he returned to the council room, as he watched her continue her briefing with unshakable confidence, Marcus couldn't shake one thought. What if she was right? The rest of the summit passed in a blur of negotiations and arguments. By sunset, they had a framework for cooperation, if not full agreement. Damien agreed to open Iron Claw borders for Red Star evacuation. Nathaniel grudgingly committed to sharing Silver Ridge supplies. Dorian offered Dark Angel territory as a staging ground for coordination. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. As the Alphas prepared to depart, Dorian pulled Marcus aside. Thank you for giving Kira a chance. Most wolves won't even listen to her. Marcus watched Kira across the room, organizing papers with meticulous care. She doesn't seem like she needs anyone's approval. She doesn't. Dorian's smile was sad. But she deserves it anyway. She spent her whole life preparing to save us all. The least we can do is let her try. That night, as Marcus's group made camp at the border between Dark Angel and Red Star territories, he couldn't sleep. His wolf paced restlessly, drawn toward where Kira slept in the Dark Angel encampment. Cole found him staring at the distant lights of the other camp. "You're really bringing her to Red Star?" Marcus nodded. "She's either the key to our survival or the biggest mistake I'll ever make." "What if she's both?" "That's what I'm afraid of." The ground trembled beneath them. A minor earthquake, barely worth noting. But in the distance, Mount Ashen glowed red against the night sky. The mountain was running out of patience. And so was Marcus. 3 days to decide if he could trust his mate. 3 days to prepare his pack for potential annihilation. 3 days to either prove his father right or vindicate his memory. The weight of leadership had never felt heavier. Marcus returned to his tent and tried to rest. Tomorrow, Kira would come to Red Star. Tomorrow, he would see if the cursed strategist could deliver on her promises. Tomorrow, everything would change. In the darkness, the mountain rumbled its agreement. Dawn broke over Red Star territory with the color of old blood. Marcus stood at the border marker, watching the road that led from Dark Angel lands. Behind him, his pack prepared for the arrival of their Alpha's mate. The word had spread through the warriors like wildfire. Curiosity warred with suspicion. A cursed woman coming to their territory. An outsider who claimed to hear voices from the mountain. Cole approached with 2 mugs of coffee, the steam rising in the cold morning air. "She'll be here within the hour. Scout reports show a small group. Just her, Owen, and 2 guards." Marcus took the offered mug. Owen. That would be Kira's brother. The one who had watched Marcus with calculating eyes throughout the summit. Protective, suspicious, smart. "The warriors are asking questions," Cole continued. "About her, about what you're planning." "And what are you telling them?" "The truth. That she's your mate. That she has intelligence we need. That for the next 3 days, she's under your protection and anyone who disrespects her answers to both of us." Cole always knew the right thing to say. It was why Marcus had chosen him as beta. Loyalty without blindness. Strength without brutality. Garrett joined them, his ever-present grin noticeably absent. "I've been thinking about what she said. About the dead wolves. Alpha-bloodline, all of them. That's targeted killing. Someone or something is hunting pack leadership." Marcus had been thinking the same thing. If Kira was right, if there really were 12 dead wolves with white eyes waiting to be discovered, then they were facing an enemy that understood pack structure, that understood how to destabilize wolf society. "We'll know soon enough," Marcus said. "If she's telling the truth, we'll find the bodies. If not, we'll know she's either delusional or manipulating us." "And if she's telling the truth?" Garrett asked quietly. "What then?" "Then we have bigger problems than I thought." The sun climbed higher. Marcus watched the road with an intensity that made his eyes water. His wolf paced inside him, excited and anxious in equal measure. The bond between him and Kira had only been partially acknowledged. Incomplete, unsettled. It pulled at him like a hook in his chest, reeling him toward her even across the distance. He hated the feeling, hated the loss of control, but he couldn't deny the anticipation that thrummed through his veins. "There," Cole pointed to movement on the horizon. 4 figures emerged from the tree line. Even at this distance, Marcus recognized Kira's distinctive golden hair. She walked with purpose, her posture military straight. Owen flanked her right side, a massive man who moved with the controlled violence of a trained warrior. The 2 guards maintained professional spacing. They weren't traveling like refugees. They were traveling like a tactical unit. As they drew closer, Marcus studied Kira's appearance. She wore practical traveling clothes, sturdy boots built for rough terrain, a pack on her back that looked heavy with supplies. Her hair was braided tightly, keeping it away from her face. Everything about her presentation said competence and preparation. The group stopped at the border marker. Owen's hand rested casually near his belt, where Marcus could see the handle of a silver knife. Message received. "Touch my sister, and we have problems." "Alpha Stone." Kira's voice carried clearly across the space. "Thank you for honoring our agreement." Marcus stepped forward. "Welcome to Red Star territory. Your brother and guards are welcome to stay as guests while you're here." Owen's expression didn't change. "I'll be staying close, for Kira's protection." "From me?" Marcus kept his tone neutral. "From whoever needs watching." Owen's eyes were hard. "No offense, Alpha, but my sister has been hurt by too many people who claim to want to help her. I won't let it happen again." Kira placed a hand on her brother's arm. "Owen, we discussed this." "Discussed, not agreed to." Owen's jaw was tight. 3 days, Alpha Stone. Prove you're different from the others, or we're gone." Marcus met the other man's challenging stare. He could respect protective instincts. He'd feel the same way if Cole's sister was in similar circumstances. Fair enough. But understand this. While Kira is in my territory, she's under my protection. Anyone who threatens her threatens me. The words came out more forcefully than Marcus intended. His wolf approved, rumbling satisfaction in his chest. Claim. Protect. Mine. Owen studied Marcus for a long moment, then gave a slight nod. "We understand each other then." Cole stepped forward, breaking the tension. "I'll show your guards to the guest quarters. Owen, if you'd like to inspect our security arrangements, I'm happy to provide a tour." It was smoothly done. Cole had a gift for diplomacy that Marcus lacked. Owen accepted the offer, though he glanced back at Kira several times as they walked away, leaving Marcus and Kira standing alone at the border. The silence stretched between them. Up close, Marcus could see the signs of a sleepless night in the faint shadows under her eyes. She'd been working through the darkness, probably preparing more strategies and contingencies. "You didn't have to defend me to my brother," Kira said quietly. "I can handle Owen." "I wasn't defending you to him. I was stating fact. You're my mate. That means something in Red Star territory. Even if you haven't decided whether to keep me." The bluntness caught Marcus off guard. Most wolves would dance around the uncomfortable truth. Kira confronted it head on. "Especially then," he replied. "If I'm going to reject you, it will be my choice. Not because I let my pack intimidate you into leaving." Kira's expression softened slightly. "That's surprisingly honorable." "You sound surprised that I have honor." "Most alphas I've met confuse honor with ego." She adjusted the pack on her shoulders. "So, where do we start?" Marcus gestured toward the main compound. "I'll show you to your quarters first. Then I want you to see our current defensive positions. After that, we'll discuss what intelligence you can provide." They walked through Red Star lands in silence. Marcus was acutely aware of the distance between them. 3 feet. Close enough that her scent teased his senses. Far enough that it felt like a chasm. Warriors paused in their tasks to watch them pass. Marcus could read the questions in their faces. Some looked curious, others skeptical. A few openly hostile. Kira noticed it too, but her expression never changed. She'd probably faced worse than suspicious looks. The guest quarters were in a building near the Alpha's residence. Deliberate placement. Marcus wanted Kira close enough to protect, but separate enough to maintain propriety. He opened the door to a clean, functional room. Simple furniture, a window overlooking the training grounds, a bathroom attached. Kira set her pack down and did a quick inspection of the space, checking exits, sightlines, potential vulnerabilities. Satisfied, she turned to Marcus. "This is fine. Thank you. We'll meet in my office in an hour. That gives you time to settle in." "Marcus." She stopped him at the door. Her voice was softer now. "I know this is difficult for you, trusting someone who represents everything you've been taught to fear. But I need you to know something." "What?" "I'm scared too." She met his eyes directly. "The bond between us is just as terrifying from my side. I've never had anyone who didn't eventually decide I was too much trouble. Too strange. Too cursed. So if you're going to reject me, I'd prefer you do it quickly. Hope is harder to survive than disappointment." The raw honesty stole Marcus's breath. This was the woman beneath the tactical genius. Vulnerable. Wounded. Expecting abandonment because that's all she'd ever known. His wolf whined, wanting to comfort her. Marcus fought the urge to step closer, to touch her, to promise things he wasn't sure he could deliver. Instead, he said the only truth he had. "I don't make quick decisions about important matters. You'll have your 3 days. Use them well." He left before he could say anything else, before the bond could override his careful control. Cole was waiting in the corridor outside Marcus's office. "Owen's inspecting our perimeter defenses. He's impressed, though he won't admit it. The guards are settling in, and the warriors are placing bets on how long the cursed girl lasts." "Shut that down," Marcus ordered. "Anyone who refers to her as cursed gets disciplinary duty. Her name is Kira. They'll use it." Cole's eyebrows rose. "Strong stance for someone you haven't accepted yet." "She's still my mate. Rejection doesn't negate that." Keep telling yourself you're being objective, Alpha. Cole's smile was knowing. But that protective instinct you're showing? That's not strategy. That's the bond working on you whether you want it to or not. Marcus didn't respond, mostly because Cole was right. Kira arrived at his office exactly 1 hour later. She'd changed into work clothes and carried a leather satchel bulging with documents, all business. She spread maps across Marcus's desk without asking permission, immediately claiming the space. "Here's where we are." She pointed to Red Star's position on the topographical map. "You're right that you're outside the immediate blast radius, but you're wrong about your primary threat. The eruption itself won't kill you. This will." Her finger traced a line from the mountain through a series of valleys. Pyroclastic flow, superheated gas and rock traveling at over 400 miles per hour. It will follow the path of least resistance, which means these valleys. Your main compound is directly in its path. Marcus studied the map. "We've prepared evacuation tunnels." "Which exit here?" Kira's finger moved to another point, right into a secondary flow channel. Whoever designed these tunnels didn't account for multiple flow paths. The first wave will drive survivors directly into the second wave. Marcus felt ice in his stomach. Cole's father had designed those tunnels 20 years ago. They were supposed to be Red Star's safety net. "Are you certain?" Kira pulled out another document. "Geological survey data from the last 3 major eruptions. Same pattern every time. The mountain doesn't just explode in one direction. It creates multiple flow paths that converge in killing zones. Your tunnels put you right in the convergence point. Then where do we go?" "North, through Iron Claw territory, like I said at the summit, but not the route you're planning." She traced a different path. "This way. It's longer, but it avoids the flow channels. You'll need to coordinate with Damien's pack to ensure safe passage." Marcus studied her calculations. The mathematics checked out. The geology made sense. If she was right, she'd just identified a fatal flaw in Red Star's evacuation plan, a flaw that would have killed hundreds of his pack members. If she was wrong, she was wasting precious preparation time on paranoid predictions. "How can you be sure about these flow patterns?" Marcus challenged. "The surveys you're referencing are decades old. The mountain could behave differently this time." Kira met his eyes. "Because I can feel it. The Guardian shows me the channels, the pressure points, the weak spots in the mountain structure. I know how it sounds, but I also know I'm right." The certainty in her voice was absolute. She wasn't guessing. She wasn't theorizing. She believed what she was saying with every fiber of her being. Marcus made a decision. "Show me. Take me to where you think the flows will converge. If I can see the terrain myself, I'll know if your predictions make sense." Kira's eyes widened slightly. "You want to go to the convergence point? That's within 2 miles of the mountain. If my people are going to trust your intelligence, I need to verify it myself. We leave in 30 minutes. Bring whatever equipment you need." She studied him for a moment, then nodded. "I'll need a compass, rope, and climbing gear. The terrain is rough. Cole can provide that." Marcus stood. "And Kira, if this is a trap, if you're leading me into danger, you should know that Garrett has orders to protect the pack at all costs, including from you." "It's not a trap." Kira's voice was quiet. "I'm trying to save your pack, Marcus. Even if you never believe anything else I say, believe that." She left to prepare. Marcus sat alone in his office, staring at the maps. He was either about to validate the most important intelligence of his life or walk into a disaster with his eyes open. His wolf had no doubts. Trust mate, protect mate, mate his pack. If only human logic was that simple. They left Red Star compound in a small group. Marcus, Kira, Cole, and Garrett. Owen had wanted to come, but Kira convinced him to stay behind. Someone needed to coordinate with the Dark Angel guards, and Owen was the logical choice. The journey to the convergence point took 2 hours. The terrain grew increasingly hostile as they approached the mountain. Vegetation thinned, the air smelled of sulfur, steam vents released pressure in angry hisses. Kira led them with confidence, never hesitating at intersections or difficult passages. She moved through the hostile landscape like she'd walked it 100 times. "How often do you come here?" Marcus asked during a brief rest. "Once a month since I was 16. Kira didn't look at him. "The Guardian calls strongest during the full moon. I've been mapping the mountain's moods for 5 years." Mapping the mountain's moods. Marcus tried to process that. Most wolves avoided Mount Ashen. It was cursed ground, dangerous, unpredictable. But Kira had been making regular pilgrimages to study it. Garrett whistled low. "That's either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid." Kira's smile was thin. "Most people vote for stupid. They reached the convergence point an hour later. It was a valley carved between two ridges, the ground scorched black from previous eruptions. Marcus could see the channels Kira had described, ancient rivers of destruction frozen in stone. Cole walked the perimeter, studying the terrain with a tactical eye. The tunnels would exit right here. He pointed to a spot on the western edge. Anyone coming out would be funneled directly into this valley with no cover and no alternate routes. Garrett examined the ridges, and if they tried to climb out, they'd be exposed on open slopes when the flow hit. This is a kill box. Marcus felt the weight of the revelation settle on his shoulders. Kira was right. The evacuation tunnels weren't safety. They were death traps. He turned to where Kira stood at the valley's center. Her eyes closed, her head tilted as if listening to something only she could hear. The wind caught her golden hair, whipping it around her face. She looked otherworldly, beautiful and terrible at once. Marcus approached her carefully. "What do you hear?" Kira opened her eyes. They seemed to glow in the strange light. Pain. The Guardian is in pain. It's been holding back the pressure for so long, and it's failing. She pressed a hand to her chest. "I can feel it here, like something breaking inside me." "How much time do we have?" 48 hours. Her voice trembled slightly. "The mountain is dying to breathe, and the Guardian can't hold it much longer." Cole and Garrett exchanged glances. This was the moment. Either they trusted Kira's supernatural intelligence, or they dismissed it as delusion. Marcus made his choice. "We relocate the evacuation route, north through Ironclaw territory using the path Kira outlined. Cole, I need you to coordinate with Damien's pack. Garrett, start moving our supply caches to staging points along the new route." Both of them nodded without hesitation. If Marcus believed Kira, that was enough for them. Kira looked at Marcus with something like wonder. "You're trusting me." "I'm trusting the evidence. Your predictions match the geological data. Your analysis of the terrain is sound. Whether your information comes from the Guardian or from 5 years of careful observation doesn't change its validity." "But you believe me, it wasn't a question." Marcus held her gaze. "I believe you believe it. That's enough for now." Something passed between them in that moment, an understanding, an acceptance. Not of the bond, not yet, but of each other as equals, as allies. The ground trembled beneath their feet, a small earthquake barely worth noting. But Kira gasped, stumbling. Marcus caught her before she fell, his hands gripping her arms. The contact was electric. The incomplete bond flared to life, singing through Marcus's nerves. He could feel her, really feel her. The fear she carried, the determination, the desperate hope that someone would finally see past the curse. And beneath it all, the connection to the mountain, a vast, ancient presence that touched Kira's mind with alien thoughts. Marcus got the barest echo of it, and it was overwhelming. He released her quickly, his heart pounding. Kira stood frozen, her breathing rapid. She'd felt it too, the potential of what they could be together. "We should head back," Marcus managed. "We have work to do." The journey back to Red Star Compound was tense with unspoken awareness. Cole and Garrett gave them space, ranging ahead and behind. Every accidental brush of shoulders sent sparks through Marcus's system. His wolf was going insane with need. By the time they reached the compound, Marcus's control was hanging by a thread. He went directly to his office, needing space to think, to plan, to not think about how Kira had felt in his arms during that brief moment of contact. He worked through the evening, redesigning evacuation protocols. Cole joined him, bringing updates from Damien's pack. Ironclaw agreed to the northern route. They were preparing their own evacuations and welcomed the coordination. Around midnight, a knock on Marcus's door interrupted his planning. Garrett entered, his expression serious. "Alpha, you need to see this." Marcus followed Garrett outside to where a group of warriors stood around something on the ground. As Marcus approached, they parted to reveal a wolf's body. Dead, eyes pure white, burn marks across the chest in a pattern that looked almost deliberate, exactly as Kira had described. "Where was this found?" Marcus asked. "Eastern border," one of the warriors replied. "Scout nearly tripped over it on patrol. There's more. We found 3 others in different locations, all the same, all Alpha-bloodline." Marcus's blood ran cold. 4 dead wolves. Kira had predicted 12. That meant 8 more were out there waiting to be discovered. "Get her," Marcus ordered. 10 minutes later, Kira stood over the body. Owen was with her, his expression grim. Other warriors gathered at a respectful distance, whispers spreading through the crowd. Kira knelt beside the dead wolf, studying the burn pattern. She didn't touch the body, just examined it with clinical precision. This is the Guardian's work, but not by choice. It's like a signature, a warning. A warning of what? Cole asked. Kira stood, her face pale. Someone else is in the mountain. Someone who can force the Guardian to kill. These wolves were scouts, gathering information about pack defenses. Whoever is controlling them wanted to eliminate intelligence gathering before the main attack. Main attack? Garrett's hand moved to his weapon. We're under siege? Not yet. Kira's eyes met Marcus's. But we will be, soon. Whoever is using the volcano as a base, they're not content to just let it erupt. They're actively working to maximize casualties. Why? Marcus demanded. What's the strategic value in killing entire packs? Territory, power, maybe just chaos. Kira shook her head. The Guardian can't communicate clearly. The connection is fragmented. But I know this. We're not just fighting a natural disaster. We're fighting an enemy who understands pack politics and is using the volcano as a weapon. The warriors' whispers grew louder. Some looked frightened, others angry. A few stared at Kira with suspicion, as if she might be responsible for the deaths. Owen stepped closer to his sister, protective. Kira's trying to help. She risked everything coming here. She's a witch, one warrior muttered. Just like the stories. She brought this curse on us. Marcus's wolf snarled. He stepped forward, his alpha presence crushing down on the crowd. Silence. Every wolf immediately quieted. The weight of Marcus's dominance was absolute. Kira Hayes is under my protection. Anyone who questions that questions me. Anyone who threatens her will be dealt with as a traitor. Are we clear? Nods rippled through the group, but Marcus could still see doubt in some faces. Fear made people stupid. It made them look for scapegoats. Cole, Garrett, organize search teams. Marcus continued. I want every inch of our territory swept for more bodies. Document everything. Bring any findings directly to me. Cole, you'll coordinate with Dark Angel and Iron Claw. Tell them what we found. They need to search their lands too. The crowd dispersed slowly. Marcus caught Owen's eye, nodded toward Kira. The unspoken message was clear. Watch her. Protect her from my own people if necessary. Owen nodded back, understanding between protectors. Kira remained standing over the dead wolf, her expression unreadable. Marcus approached her carefully. You knew exactly what we'd find. I told you I did. Her voice was tired. Do you believe me now? Or do you still think I'm manipulating you? I think you're caught in the middle of something dangerous, and I think you've been dealing with it alone for too long. Kira looked up at him. Her golden eyes shimmered with unshed tears. I've been alone my entire life, Marcus. This isn't new. The raw vulnerability in her voice cracked something in Marcus's chest. His wolf howled, demanding he comfort mate, protect mate, claim mate. For once, Marcus didn't fight it. He stepped closer, closing the distance between them. You're not alone anymore. Kira's breath hitched. Don't say things you don't mean. I can't handle false promises. I mean it. Marcus raised his hand slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he cupped her face gently. You came to my territory. You've proven your intelligence is valuable. You've kept your word. That deserves respect. Respect isn't the same as acceptance. No, but it's a start. They stood like that, suspended in the moment. Marcus could feel her pulse racing under his palm, could see the conflict in her eyes. She wanted to believe him, but belief required trust, and trust required risk. The same risk Marcus was taking by opening himself to her. A wolf howled in the distance. The moment broke. Kira stepped back, wrapping her arms around herself. I should document these findings, cross-reference them with the other predicted locations. Kira, she shook her head. Don't be kind to me, Marcus. I don't know how to handle kindness. Orders, I understand. Rejection, I understand. But gentleness, that's dangerous. Why? Because it makes me hope, and hope has only ever hurt me. She walked away before Marcus could respond. He stood alone in the darkness, watching her retreating form. His wolf whimpered, confused and frustrated. Why didn't we claim her? She's ours. She needs us. Marcus had no answer. Only the certainty that Kira Hayes was the most complicated, brilliant, damaged person he'd ever met. And despite every logical reason to maintain distance, despite the curse and the danger and the unknown threat in the mountain, he was falling for her. Not because of the mate bond, because of who she was. The next morning brought more discoveries. 8 more dead wolves scattered across all 4 pack territories, all Alpha-bloodline, all with white eyes and identical burn marks. Kira had been exactly right. 12 wolves, precisely as she'd predicted. The Alphas convened an emergency council via messenger system. No one wanted to risk traveling with a predator hunting leadership. They agreed to accelerate evacuation plans, to share intelligence, to operate as a unified force. Kira's strategies became the foundation for all pack movements. Her predictions were treated as verified intelligence. Even the skeptics couldn't argue with her accuracy rate. Marcus watched her work throughout the day. She coordinated with Cole, briefed Garrett, consulted with Owen. She moved through Red Star compound like she'd always been there. Warriors who had been suspicious now sought her advice. She earned their respect through competence, exactly as she'd promised. By evening, Marcus found her in the war room, surrounded by maps and reports. She looked exhausted but determined. The weight of coordination across 4 packs showed in the tension of her shoulders. "You need to rest," Marcus said from the doorway. Kira didn't look up. "I need to finish these coordination protocols. If the enemy strikes during evacuation, we need contingency plans. The enemy will still be there after you sleep. Sleep is a luxury I can't afford." She finally met his eyes. 48 hours, Marcus. We're down to 40 now. Every minute counts." Marcus entered the room and firmly closed the map she was studying. "You're no good to anyone if you collapse from exhaustion. 6 hours of rest. That's an order." "I don't take orders from you," Kira said, but there was no heat in it, just weariness. "Then consider it a request, from someone who needs you sharp for what's coming." Kira's eyes searched his face. "Why do you care so much? You still have 2 days left to decide if you even want me." Marcus took a breath. This was the moment. The choice he'd been dancing around since the moment she walked into his territory. "Tomorrow morning we're going into that mountain. There's a good chance we won't all make it back." Kira's face paled. "You're planning to confront the enemy directly?" "It's the only way to stop this before the eruption. We can't evacuate everyone in time if we're fighting an enemy from inside the mountain too." Marcus stepped closer. "Which means my 3 days are up. I need to make my decision now." The room fell silent. Kira stood frozen, barely breathing, waiting for the rejection she'd been expecting all along. "I accept the bond," Marcus said clearly. "Fully and permanently. You're my mate, Kira Hayes. You're my Luna. And tomorrow, when we walk into that mountain, we do it together, as partners." Tears spilled down Kira's cheeks. She made no sound, just silent streams tracing paths through her exhaustion. "You mean it? You're not just saying this because we might die tomorrow?" "I mean it because I've watched you for 2 days and seen exactly who you are." Marcus pulled her into his arms. "You're brilliant. You're dedicated. You sacrifice yourself for people who don't deserve it. You're everything a Luna should be, everything I need, and I'm done pretending I don't feel it." Kira buried her face against his chest, her body shaking with silent sobs. Years of rejection, of being told she was cursed and unwanted, breaking apart in his embrace. Marcus held her through it, his wolf purring satisfaction and comfort. When she finally pulled back, her eyes were red but clear. "I don't know how to be someone's mate. I don't know if I'll be any good at it." "Then we'll figure it out together." Marcus wiped the tears from her face with his thumbs. "That's what partners do." She kissed him then, soft at first, tentative, then deeper as Marcus responded, pulling her closer. The bond between them roared to life, no longer incomplete but fully acknowledged, accepted, claimed. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. Marcus pressed his forehead to hers. 6 hours rest, then we prepare for tomorrow, together. "Together," Kira agreed. She left for her quarters, her shoulders lighter than Marcus had ever seen them. He stood alone in the war room, feeling the bond settle into place like a missing piece finally found. Cole appeared in the doorway. "You accepted her." Marcus nodded. "Just now." "About time." Cole's smile was knowing. "Now let's make sure you both survive tomorrow to actually enjoy it." "That's the plan." Marcus returned to the maps, but his mind was clearer now, focused. He had a mate to protect, a pack to save, and an enemy in the mountain to destroy. 40 hours until eruption. Time to end this. Dawn broke cold and sharp over Red Star territory. Marcus stood in the armory with his assembled team, checking equipment with methodical precision. 36 hours until critical eruption. They had to move now. Kira entered wearing close-fitting tactical gear, her golden hair braided tight against her skull. She looked like a warrior preparing for battle, because that's exactly what she was. Owen flanked her, his expression grim but determined. Damian Cross arrived moments later, the Ironclaw Alpha's face haggard from coordinating evacuations through the night. 2 of those dead wolves were mine. I'm coming with you. Marcus nodded acceptance. The team was complete. Marcus, Kira, Cole, Garrett, Owen, Damian, and 2 of Red Star's best warriors. 8 wolves against whatever waited in the mountain. Not great odds, but they'd faced worse. Cole distributed climbing gear and emergency supplies. The volcano's interior would be hostile terrain. Extreme heat, toxic gases, unstable ground, everything designed to kill. Marcus moved to Kira's side, checking her equipment. She met his eyes with steady confidence. Different from yesterday. The acceptance of their bond had changed something fundamental. She no longer carried herself like someone expecting rejection. "Ready?" he asked quietly. To walk into an active volcano with a possessed guardian and an unknown enemy? Kira's smile was thin. "Ask me again when we're back out." "We'll make it back." Marcus's voice was firm. "I didn't just accept you as my mate to lose you the next day. Then let's make sure we both keep that promise." The team assembled at the compound gates. Warriors gathered to see them off. Cole's mate Lucy stood with tears in her eyes, holding their young son. Garrett embraced the Ironclaw female who'd become his mate just days ago, whispering promises Marcus couldn't hear. This was what they fought for, the bonds between wolves, the packs that depended on their strength. Marcus addressed his warriors one final time. "If we don't return by sunset tomorrow, Cole takes command. Follow the evacuation plans exactly as Kira designed them. Get everyone to safety. That's an order." The warriors saluted. Cole nodded, his expression saying everything words couldn't. "Come back alive, brother." The journey to Mount Ashen took 3 hours through increasingly hostile terrain. The air grew thick with sulfur. Steam vents erupted randomly, hissing their warnings. The ground trembled with constant small earthquakes. Kira led them to the hidden cave entrance she'd revealed during their earlier reconnaissance. The passage descended into darkness, obsidian walls glittering in their flashlight beams. "How deep does this go?" Damian asked as they began the descent. 2 miles straight down." Kira's voice echoed in the tunnel. "The lava tube connects directly to the volcanic chamber where the Guardian is trapped." "Trapped?" Owen questioned. "I thought it was containing the volcano by choice." "It was. 20 years ago." Kira's expression was shadowed, but something changed. Something got in that shouldn't be there. The Guardian has been fighting it alone all this time, slowly losing ground. That's why the eruption is imminent. The Guardian is failing. Marcus processed this as they descended deeper. His father had died 20 years ago, the same time the Guardian's struggle began. Coincidence or connection? The tunnel opened into a massive chamber that stole Marcus's breath. The walls glowed with eerie bioluminescence. A pool of molten lava churned at the center, casting dancing shadows. The heat was almost unbearable. "We're directly beneath the volcanic chamber." Kira's voice was barely above a whisper. "The Guardian is close. I can feel its pain." As if responding to her words, a figure materialized from the shadows. Not human, not wolf. Something ancient and wounded, its form flickering like dying flame. The Guardian's eyes held only exhaustion and desperation. Kira stepped forward without hesitation. "I'm here. Tell me how to help you." The Guardian's voice was grinding stone. "Too late. The darkness grows. It feeds on the mountain's power. Soon it will emerge and claim all your territories as its own. We're here to stop that." Marcus moved to stand beside Kira. "Tell us how." The Guardian turned its attention to the assembled wolves. "The enemy is one of your own. An alpha who opened the door in exchange for promised power. He doesn't understand what he's unleashed." "Nathaniel," Kira breathed. "Silver Ridge Alpha. I suspected but couldn't prove it. He is puppet now." The Guardian's form solidified slightly, drawing strength from Kira's proximity. The darkness controls him, uses him to sabotage your preparations. It wants maximum casualties when the mountain erupts. The more death, the more power it gains. "Where is Nathaniel now?" Marcus demanded. The Guardian pointed toward a secondary tunnel. "Below, in the heart chamber where the darkness waits. It knows you're here. It's been waiting." "Then let's not disappoint it." Marcus checked his weapon. "We end this now." "Wait." The Guardian's voice stopped them. To defeat the darkness, I need anchor to physical world, need strength I no longer possess alone. She. The Guardian looked at Kira. She must bond fully with me, become my vessel and voice. Kira's face paled. Permanent bond? Like you've had for centuries? Yes. You will carry the mountain's awareness always. Feel its moods, hear its voice, never be free of it. But together, we can seal the darkness, stop the eruption, save your packs. Owen grabbed Kira's arm. No, there has to be another way. I won't let you trap yourself like that. There is no other way. Kira's voice was steady despite her obvious fear. This is what I've been preparing for my whole life. Why the connection was there from birth. She looked at Marcus. I have to do this. Not alone. Marcus took her other hand. If you're bonding to the mountain, then so am I. We share this burden, together. The Guardian's eyes widened. Alpha would share the curse? Unprecedented. It's not a curse. Marcus pulled Kira close. It's a duty. And my mate doesn't carry duties alone. That's what partnership means. Kira's eyes shimmered with tears. You'd bind yourself to the mountain for me? For us. For our packs. For the future we're going to build. Marcus cupped her face. I told you I don't abandon my mate. I meant it. Damien stepped forward. If two can anchor better than one, then count me in. Iron Claw Pack owes this mountain nothing but grief, but I won't let you face this alone. Garrett moved to stand beside them. Red Star's Gamma stands with his Alpha. Always. Owen's jaw was tight, but he nodded. If my sister is doing this, then so am I. Someone needs to make sure you all survive. The Guardian looked at the assembled wolves with something like wonder. Such loyalty, such unity. This is why the darkness will fail. It understands only domination. You understand brotherhood. Then let's use that against it. Cole checked his weapon. Team splits. Kira, Marcus, and the Guardian handle the bonding. The rest of us confront Nathaniel and whatever controls him. We buy you time. Marcus wanted to object, wanted to keep his mate close and protected. But Cole's strategy was sound. They needed time to complete the bonding ritual, and that meant holding off the enemy. Kira seemed to read his thoughts. I'll be safe with the Guardian. Go, stop the darkness before it can interfere. Marcus kissed her hard and fast, a promise sealed without words. Then he turned to his team. Let's move. They descended into the lower chamber, following the tunnel the Guardian had indicated. The heat intensified with every step. Marcus's tactical mind cataloged threats, narrow passages, limited sight lines, perfect ambush territory. The tunnel opened into a cathedral-sized chamber. In the center, Nathaniel Reed stood on a platform of black stone, but the Silver Ridge Alpha looked wrong. His eyes glowed with reddish light. His movements were too fluid, too controlled. Something else was driving his body. Welcome! Nathaniel's voice was layered with something ancient and malevolent. You should have stayed away. Now you'll witness true power. Behind Nathaniel, shadows coalesced into semi-solid form, the darkness the Guardian had warned about. It had no real shape, just hungry presence that radiated malice. Warriors emerged from side tunnels, Silver Ridge wolves, but corrupted, eyes glowing red, movements synchronized, puppets controlled by the darkness. Garrett counted quickly. 20 hostiles. We're outnumbered 2-1. Then we fight smart. Marcus's mind raced through tactical options. Damien, Owen, take the left flank. Garrett, Cole, warriors with me on the right. We create a corridor. Push them back. Don't let them surround us. The corrupted wolves attacked with mechanical precision. No fear, no hesitation. They came in coordinated waves designed to overwhelm through numbers. Marcus's team responded with the discipline of trained warriors. Garrett and Cole fought as a seamless unit. Damien's ferocity was devastating. Owen's protective instincts made him unbreakable. The Red Star warriors held formation. But the corrupted wolves kept coming. For every one that fell, 2 more emerged from the tunnels. Marcus fought his way toward Nathaniel, knowing the possessed Alpha was the key. Cut off the head, the body dies. He dodged attacks, using his tactical training to turn aggression against his opponents. Above, in the upper chamber, Marcus could feel Kira through their bond. She'd begun the ritual with the Guardian. He could sense her fear, her determination, the overwhelming weight of the mountain's consciousness pressing into her mind. Hold on, he thought desperately. I'm coming. Nathaniel's possessed form moved with inhuman speed, launching toward Marcus. They collided with bone-crushing force, rolling across hot stone. Nathaniel's strength was enormous, enhanced beyond normal alpha capabilities. They fought with savage intensity. Nathaniel had no self-preservation instinct, attacking recklessly. Marcus used technique, looking for openings, wearing him down. Around them, the battle raged. Garrett took a wound defending Cole. Owen's roar shook the chamber as he protected a downed Red Star warrior. Damien fought 3 corrupted wolves simultaneously, his experience showing. Then Marcus felt it. Through the bond, Kira completing the connection to the Guardian, power surged through the mountain, through their mate bond, flooding Marcus with borrowed strength. The darkness shrieked. Its control over the corrupted wolves faltered. Nathaniel's body seized, the red glow flickering. In the upper chamber, Kira stood with the Guardian, her body blazing with golden light. She'd become the anchor, the conduit, the voice between mountain and wolf, and she was pulling Marcus into the bond as well, sharing the burden as he'd promised. Marcus felt the weight of centuries crash into him, the loneliness of eternal duty, the sacrifice of giving up normal life to protect those who'd never understand. It was crushing. But Kira was there beside him in the bond, her strength supporting his, her courage bolstering his resolve. Together, they could bear what would destroy either one alone. Marcus channeled the power into physical strength. He grabbed Nathaniel, pinning the possessed Alpha against stone. The darkness controlling him screamed, trying to maintain its grip. Kira's voice echoed through the chamber, amplified by the Guardian's power. "Release him. Your hold over this mountain ends now." The Guardian materialized in the lower chamber, fully solid for the first time. It raised one hand toward the shadows. "I was bound to protect this mountain. I will not be used to destroy it. With my new anchors, I have strength to resist you." The darkness shrieked again, a sound that transcended physical hearing. It was rage and hunger and ancient malevolence given voice. It tried to strike at Kira, sensing she was the key to its defeat. Marcus roared, his alpha dominance exploding outward. "You will not touch my mate!" The bond between him and Kira flared like a sun. The Guardian added its power to theirs. Together, they channeled energy directly at the darkness. The battle that followed was beyond physical. It was a clash of wills played out across spiritual dimensions. Marcus saw Kira at the center, her face contorted with effort, holding the line between their world and whatever void the darkness came from. She was the anchor, the Guardian's connection to life and purpose, the thing that gave it reason to fight. And Marcus was her anchor in turn, keeping her grounded in the physical world, preventing the mountain's consciousness from overwhelming her humanity. Partnership in its purest form. The darkness lashed out one final time, trying to break their connection. But it was already too late. The Guardian sealed it, pushing it back through the dimensional crack Nathaniel had opened 20 years ago, closing the door, locking it forever. Nathaniel's body went limp, the red glow extinguished. He collapsed, unconscious but alive. Around the chamber, corrupted wolves fell like puppets with cut strings. The battle was over. Marcus pulled himself to his feet and ran to the upper chamber. Kira was on her knees, trembling violently. Her eyes were still glowing gold, but fading gradually back to normal. He dropped beside her, pulling her into his arms. "I've got you. It's over." Kira clung to him, shaking. "I can still feel it. The mountain, the Guardian. It's always going to be there now." "I know. I feel it too." Marcus held her tight. "But we're both here. We survived, and we'll manage this together." The Guardian's form was already fading, its purpose fulfilled. "Thank you, young wolves. You gave me what I lost centuries ago. Hope, connection, purpose beyond duty. Rest now. The mountain sleeps. It will not wake in your lifetime." The presence dissipated like morning mist. The chamber cooled. The lava pool solidified to stone. The mountain itself seemed to sigh with relief, pressure finally released. Garrett's voice echoed from below. "Alpha, we've secured the lower chamber. Hostiles are all down. Nathaniel is alive but unconscious." Marcus helped Kira to her feet. "Can you walk?" She nodded, though her legs were unsteady, with help. They made their way down to where the team waited. Cole's relief was visible when he saw them alive. Damien studied them with new respect, seeing the change the bonding had wrought. Owen moved to his sister, checking her over with protective concern. "You okay?" Kira managed a tired smile. "I'm alive. We all are. That's what matters." The journey back to the surface took hours. Exhaustion made every step a challenge, but they emerged into daylight to find Cole's contingent waiting with status reports. All 4 packs were safely evacuated, 0 casualties. The mountain was stable, no eruption, because they'd stopped it before it could start. Marcus stood in Red Star's Great Hall 3 days later, watching his pack celebrate their survival. The crisis had passed. Nathaniel had been judged by all 4 alphas and stripped of his rank. Silver Ridge was selecting new leadership. The 4-pack alliance was formalized with the Stone Accord, and Kira stood beside him as his acknowledged Luna, respected by all 4 territories. She wore ceremonial robes in Red Star colors, her golden hair loose and flowing. She looked regal and powerful and beautiful, but more than that, she looked happy. The bonding ceremony was simple but profound. The elder conducting it spoke the ancient words. "Do you accept Kira Hayes as your Luna, your partner in leadership, your mate in all things?" "I do." Marcus's voice was strong and clear. "More than accept. I celebrate her. I honor her. I promise to stand beside her for as long as I live." The assembled wolves erupted in cheers, not just Red Star, but representatives from all 4 packs celebrating together. Kira turned to address them, her voice carrying with earned confidence. "I know some of you feared me. My connection to the mountain is permanent now, shared with my mate, but I promise to use it to protect you, to warn of danger, to be the guardian this region needs. And she won't do it alone." Marcus pulled her close. "We face everything together. That's the strength of pack. That's what unity means." The celebration lasted into the evening. Marcus watched wolves from different territories mingling freely, children playing together, warriors sharing stories, old boundaries becoming irrelevant. This was the future his parents had tried to build, their legacy, finally realized. As the moon rose, Marcus and Kira slipped away to the balcony of his quarters. Below, their people celebrated. In the distance, Mount Ashen stood dark and silent. Just a mountain now, sleeping peacefully under the watch of its guardians. "I can feel it," Kira said quietly. "Content, resting, no longer alone." "Neither are we." Marcus wrapped his arms around her. "We have each other. We have our packs. We have a future to build." Kira leaned back against his chest. "When you offered me 3 days to prove myself, I thought that was all I'd get. 3 days before another rejection. You were never not worth it." Marcus tightened his embrace. "You were always exactly what I needed. I was just too afraid to see it. And now? Now I see everything clearly." Marcus turned her to face him. "You're the strongest person I've ever met. The smartest strategist I've ever worked with, the best partner I could have asked for. And I love you, not because of the mate bond, because of who you are." Tears traced down Kira's cheeks, but she was smiling. "I love you too, even when you're stubborn, even when you're insufferable, even when you think you have to save everyone alone. Then it's a good thing neither of us is alone anymore." Marcus kissed her as the wolf song began below, their pack celebrating life and survival and the bonds that held them together, Alpha and Luna adding their voices to the chorus. The curse that had defined Kira's life had become her greatest strength. The fear that had driven Marcus's leadership had transformed into wisdom. Together, they were more than the sum of their parts. They were exactly what their packs needed, and as the song filled the night air, Marcus knew with absolute certainty that happy endings were earned through sacrifice, courage, and the willingness to trust when everything said not to. Kira had taught him that, and he would spend the rest of his life being worthy of the lesson. The end.